Hi, welcome to Harkins Haven. My name is Lauren. Let me show you around a bit. So this right here behind me is our garden. This is our first year doing an in-ground garden on this property. So a friend of ours has helped us, a friend of ours with a tractor has helped us sort of loosen up the soil a bit. We put wood chips on it last fall, and then we let the chickens in here all winter. So this was their winter coop, so to speak. And so that's gotten it all ready to go for us. We are gonna have to create beds, and then we'll be ready to plant in here in a few weeks when it's warm enough, or consistently warm enough. Today's pretty nice. But as you can see, our fence is about half done. So the other thing I want to talk about on this video is goals for 2025, and this garden is a big goal for us. I have had a few little container gardens that I've started learning how to grow in, but we've never had a full in-ground garden with the intent of eating out of it for a good portion of our food. And our goal for this year is to grow enough for all of our fresh eating while it is in production, with a few things that we might preserve. So as you've seen some of our seed starting videos, we have started some onions and peppers. We're gonna start a bunch of tomatoes. Our goal is also to put some of our perennials in here around the edges. So I foresee like one side, the fence along one side, to be maybe raspberries. We've started some asparagus that I might be able to add in, and we'll see how the garden goes. So let's go immediately over this way and I'll show you our chicken operation. Okay, so this is the garden that you just saw. So right off to the side of the garden, this green house is our brooder structure. So we built this using Joel Salatin's Polyface design plan set. And we used it all last summer and it works great. It is pretty big, so if you're only gonna do 50 birds at a time, this is way bigger than you need, but it's working great for us. We did about a little over 100 meat birds last summer with great success, and we are going to do at least that many again this summer, maybe even more. And the idea of having this right here is that when we clean it out, all of that's compost. And this structure right here, this is our compost. It's just a pallet compost structure in the great inspiration of Charles Dowding. It's not perfectly to his specs, but similar. And then the idea is that structure back there would be for storage of hay and stuff. So the other goal is right in this space right here. We're gonna put a little garden shed. We have one, we just have to finish building it. And then, so that's our little garden setup. Eventually, we are gonna put a fence around the rest of this garden with a gate here and then a gate sort of where I'm standing. So let's keep going around. So out here you can see this is our pasture. Well, if I can point, this is our pasture. We have, give or take, 8 acres in pasture out here in the front of our property. And our goal is this year, we're looking into both a sort of pasture pig. We have a contact for that we're going to talk to and see if that is feasible. And we're looking to get a couple steers, preferably in the meat varieties. And we're going to run rotational grazing of steers out in this pasture. So our field, before we bought it, the people who owned this place before us had been haying all that field just so they could get the tax breaks for the agriculture. The person who had been haying it for them would just keep the hay as the payment, but he had been spraying Grazon on the field. So we do know that has been on our field, so we're gonna have to, it's gonna be a few years before that's contaminant free. Based on my research, it's somewhere between 3 and 7 years. We've decided not to worry about it too much. We could do some rehab, we might do some of that, but anything that we could feasibly do on this amount of land would just cost us an arm and a leg, and we don't have that kind of cost. So the best way to rehab it is to just start using it. Last summer, we did not let them hay it. We just cut it ourselves using our zero turn. It took us about a month to cut it once, and then we waited a week or two to give ourselves a break and cut it again. because there's just so much of it, and we don't have a big lawnmower, we just have a little 0 turn. But you do what you got to do sometime. But we just let all of that hay in place to help go back, putting more organics back into the soil. Ideally, we'd like to do some like maybe compost tea or something, but we just don't have the equipment to do that on any sort of scale. So we'll see what we can and can't do. Right now, we're just gonna run the animals through it, and that will help a lot. So let's keep going around here. This is our fun little shade tree. Over here you can see our mulch pile. We have a place where we can go get mulch, and they'll just put it in the back of our pickup and we can bring it back. It's kind of far away, but it's what we've got right now. So that's sitting there for use in the garden and just to start breaking down. We want to start using it in things like worm bin, compost, all of those things. So let's keep going around. And you're going to come to the shop. So this red building right here is our shop, and that is one of our huge goals for this year, preferably sooner rather than later, is to do a lot of organization in the shop. So our house, when we moved into this property, we did downsize. So this house is a little smaller than the house we owned previously, and it's fine. I mean, I do not regret that at all, and I love our house, but it does have a little bit, some of our stuff didn't all fit in the new house. So some of it's still in the shop. We've been going through it, trying to get rid of what we don't need. We had several whole rooms of furniture we had to sell, and some of that is still in the shop. So we're working on that. And then all of our tools and such are just sort of still in boxes in there because we didn't really have the right organizational stuff. So we've been working on getting the correct organization, getting it all set up. That's just, it takes a minute. It does. And then we've slowly started accumulating the stuff that we need for the farm, like fences and waterers and such. And that hasn't, it's just a work in progress, and we're gonna have to see what we're gonna do. I'll take you over there and we can look at it a little closer. So here we are in front of the shop, and as I told you, that there's just a lot of stuff in piles, and I'll show you a little bit of the inside, but it's a disaster. So that's a big goal for this year, is to get this organizational. We're gonna get it organizational, get it organized and get it functional so that we can find what we need and make sure we have what we need and not feel like the sky is falling in every time we walk into this space. So over here, these are the 2 freezers that you watched us organize in a previous video. That is super helpful to have those out here. Okay, so this is to the side of our shop. We just bought this little cheap, they call it a pergola. It's kind of a lean-to. It's very much a leaning lean-to, so it's not super sturdy. We're gonna have to reinforce it quite a bit. But underneath here, these trash cans are where we store our chicken food, because we often buy it in bulk, and we don't have a tractor, so we have to bring it down the driveway in smaller containers. And then we have found that these trash cans do really well. They snap on, so they do really well to keep water out, especially when we've got them underneath this lean-to structure. The 2 freezers over here, back behind them, let me see if I can move so you can see them. See here, 1 and 2 is right here. Those do not work. They didn't work when we bought them. We picked them up for free off Facebook Marketplace. The idea was to store our feed in those, but they're not quite as watertight as you would think, especially laying on their backs like they are. So what we've decided to do is those are both going to become worm bins. We've already started filling them up with cardboard shavings, and as soon as it gets late enough in the year that it won't freeze overnight anymore, we'll go ahead and put some worms in, let them get established. By next year, when it starts freezing, there should be enough soil in there that they'll be fine, but we just want to give them as good a start as possible. We'll take you guys along when we do that. But those 2 big bins should give us enough. I mean, it'll take a whole year or so to get enough worm castings out of one of those. And the idea is that we would be able to rotate them, use one year and then use the other one the next year and go back and forth. and get that really working well. We keep going around here. Back in there, that building back there, that's our well house. This is the first property we've ever owned that has a well, so that's been a unique learning experience, but I'm very glad for it. And if we keep turning, this is the side view of our house, and as you can see right here, this is a lot of our firewood. We've already burned through all of our firewood for this year. We got a cord because we didn't know how much to guess, so we just guessed. That was not quite enough because it's still February and we're already out. So, and we didn't do any sort of bonfires and stuff this year, which we'd like to do some of that next year. So, a friend of ours that lives up here has had a couple trees fall, and he was looking to clear some pasture. So Brian went over and spent a day helping him out, and he just sent the firewood home with Brian because he has enough for his family. So we've got this stack and a stack over on the other side of the shop. Brian's looking to go out and help him one more day because he's still got some more out there just to give us enough, a little bit extra for this year. And then we're getting into, this is the front of our house over here. Let's go over there and look and see about what's there. So these bins right here and the ones you can see around the corner of the house over here are garden bins. So at our last property, we weren't allowed to have an in-ground garden bed because we lived in an HOA. So I used these containers and I just hid them around behind of our house. So our goal in the future is to actually landscape this front space and put an in-ground bed with some pavers and make it look all pretty. But that's not in the budget for 2025. So what I have here is just these bins. This allowed us to do some of our gardening because we didn't move into this property until too late in the season last year. So right now most of this is perennials and garlic. So the big plants are the blueberries and such. You've watched us prune. There's some raspberries. And then all the bins around the edge of the side of the house are planted with our garlic, which seems to be doing pretty well. So I'm pretty excited about that. Our garden wasn't ready for that to go in the garden last October, so it's here now. And then if we keep going out this direction, that way out there is our current mobile chicken coop. I'll take you out so we can see it. It's a chickshaw, but we'll go look at that. And then we'll be back. The garden is right here in front of the house. Will be a full tour. Okay, so here is our mobile chicken coop. It is a chickshaw design. We have this net all around it. You can see over here, that is our zero turn. That's the only piece of farm equipment that we have. It's great. So we just move this and its little paddock every day or every other day, depending on how well the grass is growing. And you're good. And this has fertilized our pasture a lot. You can tell the difference in where these chickens were last year here around the house and then where they haven't been yet. So this works. One piece I didn't show you, here's another view of our nice pasture out here. And if you can see that structure right there, that is our chicken tractor. Let's straighten this up a little bit. All right, so you can see this structure right here behind me. This is the chicken tractor. That's how we run our meat birds. It holds 75 according to the design, because that's Joel Salatin's polyface design. That's what we used for the plans. We found that with our grass not being as luscious as it could be, that was a lot of yuckiness. So we only run between 50 and 60 birds in it at a time. And we can run 2 or 3 runs over the course of the summer. And that also leaves our butchering days a little bit less chaotic because we're still new at this, so we're not as fast as a professional. And so between me, we usually do butchering days, me and my mom and Brian, and that's about it. Sometimes my dad helps us, sometimes his mom helps us, but in general it's just the 2 or 3 of us. And so having less to do in a day makes it a little less overwhelming when you're trying to also do it with a toddler and a baby and all of the chaos of doing things yourself. So let's talk a little bit as we stare at this gorgeous pasture in this wonderful sunshine that I'm so happy for at the end of February. what are we planning on doing in 2025? So getting the garden going is a big step. We already ordered our meat chickens for the year. We've ordered enough for 2 runs, and then we're gonna see where that ends up with us. We are gonna we're looking to find a few more laying chickens. We have about 15 in this flock over here, but that coop holds about 30, just up 36, something like that. So we'd like to go ahead and double our chickens. We eat a lot of eggs, and we have changed our diet to include more eggs since we have them. And I'd like to get enough to do a little bit of storage for winter months, because we were only getting about 3 or 4 a week for a couple of the weeks in the winter. So chickens and garden, definitely. We are also currently looking into, we're also doing the worms for sure, because that system is almost set up. We're looking to start some grubs, which are black soldier fly larvae is technically what they are. We've just been calling them grubs. That system we should have everything we need to set up that system here on the homestead already. And then we will use those black soldier fly larvae to feed the chickens to increase their protein and maybe decrease our feed costs a little bit. It's supposed to be a fairly self-sustaining system, and it seems kind of fun. So we're gonna try that this year. We have a beehive that we have found that we're gonna try and get set up and catch a swarm. That's, we're gonna get the swarm set up. We haven't got that done yet, but hopefully we'll get to that this year. We'll need to set that up around beginning of May at the latest, so that we have May and June is usually the best times to catch a swarm. We've never been beehive keepers. That's totally a new one. We've never been beekeepers before, so my mom has really taken that one. She really wants to do that, so she's done a lot of the research on that. So she's sort of spearheading it. They live in a HOA, so she can't do all of that on her property. She enjoys coming out here and doing it on ours with us, and we enjoy having her help. And then, as I said earlier, we are looking into pigs and cows. We're gonna do at least one of them for sure. I'm kind of hoping for both. Our long-term goal is to be meat self-sufficient on our homestead in 3 years. This being year 1, so we didn't count last year as doing chickens. We counted that as a learning year. So 2025, our goal is by the end of 2025 to go into 2026 with a food budget, a grocery bill that is half of what it is here, between the garden and the meat source we're able to do on our own property. Just to put some numbers to it so we'll be able to see how we're doing. We have some other big plans about some different structures we'd like to put on the homestead. Right now we're still in the phase of trying to figure out what of those is the most important and what could wait. So we'll see as we go what we do and don't pick. So you'll have to stay along with us to see how that's gonna go. So welcome to our haven, and here we go, 2025.